Good morning. It is 8:37 a.m. January 1st, 2020 in Sarasota, Florida. I'm going to jump right in and not overthink this recording, but I am going to intend to have it serve as sort of, this is the third recording that I'm going to do that is directly related to and a continuation of, I guess is a better way of titling it, a continuation of processing, analyzing, learning from being with the Ecuador trip that never was to be. Still, I think it's, in some respect, I feel like it's pretty incredible that I moved through certain aspects of it fairly quickly. I guess I feel like I moved through the whole, just really obviously accepting it is the first step, feeling the emotions associated, and that is sort of been like this kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, I haven't cried about it since Saturday, but I was really upset on Saturday. I couldn't even call an Uber back home for a good 45 minutes. And I had called my very good friend Kathy from the airport, and I had called my mom after speaking to I call her the gatekeeper down there, the gatekeeper of the spiritual couple. When it was, immediately when I spoke to her, I knew I guess I could say, initially on the surface, you want to say I got screwed, fight them, sue them, all these things. But here's the thing. I am, honest to God, out there believing in and wanting to be a part of simply what I call just a different version of Earth. Just a different game. It's like if you're a sports person and you love baseball, but you hate basketball. You're not interested in basketball. You don't follow it. You don't really care. You don't have anything against it, but you're about baseball. You're all about baseball. You play baseball. You study baseball. You watch baseball. You know all the details about baseball. You're a baseball person. Well, I've struggled in sort of what I call the old game, or the old game for me. The game based in fear, the game based in competition, the game based in lack. I couldn't thrive. I was miserable in that world. Of course, all this was before what I call my spiritual awakening, but all my spiritual awakening was a remembering that I don't have to play that game. That there is sort of this other, you don't have to buy into it. You get to choose what you want to buy into and not buy into when it comes down to it. But it's a lot of work, one, out there, to be an independent thinker. A lot of work to experience things and take in things that you've directly experienced and not what you're watching on TV or, hearing from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of what happened. Like to actually base your life on what you're experiencing directly and what you're interacting with directly, and taking that all in, and as you live life, deciding, what works for you, what feels right for you. Well, it feels right to me. It's always felt right to me, which is why I've struggled to the extent that I have in my adulthood. None of these systems and rules and laws and just to me it brings down overall the accountability and responsibility for being a human, and as such really limits us as humans to rely upon these hierarchical, structures, to hide behind titles, to hide behind, oh, it's just for work. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. It's work, so I can't really do anything about it. And it's my boss tells me, and it's just everybody's always putting something off on somebody else, and we haven't really, at least in my 44 years, haven't experienced many times where we're actually out there engaging as mature, grown-up, evolved, fair-minded adults that respect one another, as having the opportunity to believe whatever we want, but just be real about it. Be real about, be respectful, and stand by, your choices. Stand by your words. And do it courageously. Don't do it, now we've got all these ways that distance people even more. I do it through YouTube. I do it through Facebook. I do it, but what are you in the here and now? What are you in the flesh? What are you for real? Like, for real. And I don't want to live in a world where we need to resolve things with lawyers, and we can't communicate with our neighbors, so we got to call the cops, to resolve a neighborly thing. Or, you can't communicate with your kids, so while they're under your roof, they're still under 18 years old, they're just going to do what you say because you're boss. Like, these are all things that, and these are obviously loose examples here. And obviously you can't go from a world where we've created a world where we do need these things in our present sort of level of collective, the way that we're collectively coming together. But I believe we've got the potential to grow up collectively a lot more, where we don't need all this middle people stuff. Let's get back human to human, handshake to handshake. Your word matters. And you don't need what boils down to an arbitrary piece of paper to hold you to your word. And it's okay if you give your word to something or commit to something. There's no way we can anticipate every possibility of what might transpire when you agree or jump into anything with another human being. Any minimal agreement up to, starting a huge business with somebody. You can't prepare for everything. You have to trust that you're doing your best, all parties involved. You're doing your best to get everything on the table transparently and openly that that you're aware of, and then agree and have this mutual understanding and agreement that should when things go sideways, because they always do, that you can agree to try to resolve it from a place that truly serves the greatest number of people in the greatest way. Now, I'm not speaking anything. This is the basic of this is marriage, right? And our divorce rate, I don't know what the present divorce rate is, but I know that in recent decades it had climbed to be, I think, well over 50%. But I want to be part of a world. I see in my mind's eye, in my heart's eye, I do see a way that all of us can be interacting based on very different rules, if you will. Instead of all of us having been conditioned directly and indirectly to believe that there's only a select number of resources and we all got to compete and hoard, instead we believe that there's plenty for everybody. Instead of believing that because of said belief and lack, you got to compete and fight and battle, instead we know that there's enough for everybody, so you cooperate. And we're out there genuinely trying to help one another thrive. And instead of being motivated and controlled by fear, we're instead inspired and pulled into this higher way of living that is based in love, where we remember, man, we're all connected. We really are all connected. What you do unto your neighbor, you do unto you. So, and I have always known this, but I took it to living to it to a whole new level 7 years ago. And it's cheesy and oversimplified and perhaps even cliche, but it really is Gandhi's quote: be the change you wish to see in the world. Be it. So when I began my company, from the ground up, I vowed that, I was 2 years into living my life like that. I mean, I had always, I was raised by really, really incredible values and morals were instilled in me. Not just by my immediate, my parents, but my extended family, my grandparents. I mean, good, honest people, hardworking people, people with integrity, people with compassion. It's definitely in my depths. So I had always, arguably to a very large extent, been engaging in the world in that way. But because I wasn't able to, I don't know how to say, as you get my skill sets, peers with similar skill sets as I had, I just couldn't rise up the ladder of different jobs. I mean, and that's how it's wired. If you're organized, if you're able to lead, if you're able to be communicative, if you're a hard worker, if you're intelligent, you're going to be kind of almost channeled into management. And I just couldn't play the game. So on the business side, I knew I was always going to be on this path to be my own boss. And I wanted everything from the ground up to reflect from day one. I have to call it a business. That's the systems within which we work. I have to call it that. And in the sense of exchanging energy, offering, exchanging energy out in the world, whether it be my time, whether it be my skill sets, whether it be, things I create, whether it be other resources, everything boils down to an exchange. And I wanted to be, from the ground up, I wanted to know and be, for real, something that was genuinely different. And that's why, I started my company with pay it forward investments instead of asking for investments. Now, that's a whole nother tangent, and in many respects, I was wholly naive and not ready for what I perceived myself to be ready for. But in this case, with Ecuador, these folks, this spiritual couple, it's just, when something like this happens, it just tarnishes, already for those that don't believe in anything higher, right? Those that don't claim to be religious or spiritual and are, more atheist or indifferent, there's going to be a lot of people in my world that look at this who, because I didn't hold back by sharing that I was excited. A lot of people in it was my carrot for myself to get through my Ironman season. And I've got some, really Christian friends. A couple of my friends in the Ironman world are really Christian and as such very, very much questioned, where I was going and these people. And here I am vouching for them because for 9 years, they are speaking of the shifting times and they are speaking of it. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of people out there that are talking about these times. And because we live in a world where you still have to make money, it gets really, really messy when it can get, and in my experience has absolutely gotten really messy when the money gets involved. There was no way for me to know for certain. Yes, there were red flags, but I think a lot of times, for men and women, I don't think it's a generalized thing. I don't think collectively, generally, a lot of men would have found themselves in this because they would have needed to see a lot more. And I mean, I think a lot of men do see through these guys. Certainly more quickly and more easily than women. This isn't coming off. I wanted to just speak to learning, God, this is hard. Just keep talking to it. Don't worry if this isn't. My own voice inside of me. For most of my life, the voice that was inside wasn't my own. And I had a sense that the voice wasn't my own. It was either my parents, society, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. It was teacher, it was somebody's. I was so sensitive that I was picking up on, I could almost feel almost feel what they were thinking, if that makes sense. And that's the part that I'm, right now I'm still supposed to be out of town, and I had been sort of increasing my time on Facebook. I mean, still not every day, but I don't even know how to begin to publicly state, and of course I owe nobody any of that, but I almost rather have it out there because I don't want to keep this alive and have to repeat it to everybody for all the next months. How was Ecuador? How was Ecuador? I don't even know. I need to take one of my cats to the vet, and I don't even want to go explain it to them. And, it's just part of me has these feelings and emotions tied to these guys that I'm just like, I want to say, damn it, you guys. Fuck, man. You just went ahead and became the cliche for everybody who's not, consciously identifying or on the spiritual. Like you just absolutely played into the cliche of people who aren't being called to that, just blanketing it, saying anybody like that must be corrupt, they're con artists, it's all crap. There's such a responsibility, especially when you've got such the size audience, and they do, but the thing is they do help many thousands of people, and it's oh God, it's like I've kind of say I've outgrown them, because then that makes me sound like I'm trying to say like I'm better than them, and I'm not trying to say that. But I think you'll find that people, again, who are more in the non-traditional, more on the spiritual side of things than a formal, more religious side, which, tends, like, I'll just speak to Catholicism. Catholicism, for me, one of the main reasons it didn't resonate, it was very separatist. It was keeping God separate. The priest was your conduit and your connection to God. It just that never felt right to me. It never felt right to me. I didn't find it inspiring. I loved the music. The music was my favorite part of Mass. And I was always sad that we only sang, 5 hymns, in a Mass, 4 or 5 hymns. Like that was really the only part that really, the rest of it just felt, it just didn't, it wasn't, it didn't feel like the whole story to me. And it just didn't resonate with me. And now I understand it to be simply from and it's not a judgment of it. It's just sort of, I believe in it. God is in us. We don't need anything in between, including like people like this couple, but I wasn't treating this couple like some sort of like somebody that knew better than me, that was somehow more connected to spirit than I was. Well, kind of was treating them like they were more connected. So they certainly portray themselves to be, especially the wife. I don't know. I'm just I'm still, I have these strange feelings for which I don't have words. As I awake here on the first of the year, and it's still just really a little bit surreal that I'm not there. And you know, again, I just don't want to miss the lessons. I don't want to shuffle anything under the carpet within myself for it to resurface in terms of, emotions and feelings. I kind of want to really, I think I accepted it very quickly. Acceptance is one layer. And then I think feeling the emotion. And then I think you get into trying to garner the lessons. And for me, then sort of the fourth piece is if, when I experience something, to what degree, if at all, do I want to share the experience? Because we cannot learn lessons for one another. We all are traveling our own path. And as such have our own lessons to learn. And no matter how much you love somebody, no matter how much you may want to learn the lessons and ease their, ease that for them, they're going to learn plenty on their own. And they have to. It's part of the human experience. But I do believe that we're here to help one another. I believe there's ways we can help one another minimize the pain of some of this growth. And by sharing experiences, I think that really can go a very long way to helping somebody face situations that they're in and process things that they've gone through and learn the lessons that they're trying to learn. I really believe there's tremendous value in sharing. But there's a fine line, because the joy I get from connecting and genuinely helping somebody, it's all I really want to do. And we're all out here. I'm not saying that I got it all figured out and I'm only out here to provide help. I mean, I need guidance and help as well. I can benefit. Let's say it that way. I too can benefit and do benefit from what others have experienced. But right now, I'm not going to benefit nearly as much talking to people who are kind of playing the old game. If they're on the normal career path and climbing the corporate ladder and saving for retirement and all, and I'm not trying to insult that is great, but that's not the journey calling me. It never has. So I'm out there, back to Gandhi's quote, trying to be out there and really creating my own path that's not my own path within a greater established sort of common journey. I'm out there knowing that my journey is so unique. All of our journeys are so unique that these controlled sort of flows are really arbitrarily keeping the uniqueness at bay. And in order for me to, what I've discovered for myself, to even come close to being and living and thriving as the complete unique being that I am, I can't do it within those more limited sort of paths, because those paths have sort of rules and steps, and I just none of that makes sense to me. But when you start leaping off of that mainstream established route, where you've got built-in things of, agreements and contracts and lawyers and things. You can't have it both ways. If you really want to be about creating something and part of something that's different, you really got to be something that's different. And that's, I think, what burns the most. And unfortunately, so far in the past 7 years, this navigating people that identify as spirit, and it's not just the spirit, it is people that identify as being religious as well. Navigating people that are out there, and it boils down to, it's just navigating people. It's just navigating the world. And really it's just, if you're out there directly experiencing life and not sort of being more cautious by engaging through more of the systems of protection. And again, I'm not trying to judge anybody that is engaging in their lives more in the more common way. I'm kind of speaking to those who are being called to the more uncommon way. And I'm speaking to all of us because we're all out here together. It behooves us to learn how to harmonize. And that harmonization comes through respect, but it also comes through honesty and integrity and quality of character. Be what you're claiming to be. Align, just simply align. I say it all the time. I would rather be interacting with and working with somebody, and I've had to, with a couple folks on the Ironman circuit, who are clearly business guys or selfish or just kind of assholes. But they embrace it, and they're not trying to pretend to be something else. So you know what you're getting. It's clear. I would deal with that, work with that, be with that any day of the week and twice on Sunday over navigating, the thing, like what I'm navigating right now. These people, when it comes down to it, for real, you just demonstrated your quality of character or lack thereof, and your integrity or lack thereof. If you are like how you can't refund me half the money, and really, this was your responsibility. We're coming to you. Okay, I know you didn't do it on purpose, and you've never faced it. But you better own up to the fact that's like, oh fuck, that really should be on us. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put egg on your face, but why should I have all the egg on my face? So today, I guess, clearly, I'm trying to work through some of the higher level lessons here. The lessons that can be extrapolated, that anybody can take something from this experience. Obviously, there's pieces of it that will be geared more towards, if you are out there and you have resonated with, people that identify as spiritual teachers or gurus or whatever. It's like, I use all those terms loosely. I don't like labels. But there is a fact of people that have sort of been living it for longer. People that are supporting themselves as healers or as, life coaches and all these things that, like where it's more nebulous, where they're not supporting themselves selling a product, where that's nice and clear, where they're out there offering some sort of nebulous service. And now you've got, healers with crystals and healing rods and Reiki and all that. And trust me, I am open and believe all of it. There's truth to all of it. But because it's not clearly defined, and a lot of it is in the unseen, there is an enormous amount of trust that is inherent with engaging in the world, both in offering yourself out and in being on the other side as you try to discern who's fucking real and who's not. So I do think that the most poignant messages are directed at people who are out there experiencing things like this. Just in terms of like that, because that is what this is. This wasn't booked through a travel agency. And I'm not gonna, one of the things that I decided after my awakening that I had compromised a tremendous amount. People always said, you're too trusting, you're too positive, you're too idealistic. And I couldn't help it. That's how I was wired. I couldn't compromise. I couldn't be non-trusting. I can't engage in the world not trusting. I can't do it. And upon my awakening, and with this understanding of you trust is synonymous with love. I mean, you if you want to be co-creating and a part of and existing in a world of love, you have to put out what you expect to get. You can't expect to get anything that you're not putting out into the world. And like I said, I was wired that way. But because I didn't know how to, I just didn't know how to reconcile any of it. I was a crisscross of mixed messages in the universe because I'm so sensitive to what everybody else around me is feeling and believing and telling me. And I didn't have the self-confidence at all in my adulthood. Once I left college, my self-confidence, started to drop exponentially as each year passed after I graduated college, and I lost that clear, classroom, it's clear. After I lost, I didn't have the ability, so I'm affected by everybody else telling me these things that I knew I was to this nth degree, extremely trusting, seeing very clearly a different version of Earth. And finally on my awakening, the biggest thing is that I vowed I'm not going back on that. Now I'm going to finally dive head on, consciously into the world, knowing that I can, believing like that. But as such, I had a lot of lessons to learn because I hadn't been doing that, and I had been, to a large extent, very disengaged from a lot of living, certainly living in the way that I desired to be living. And so I needed to get a lot more experience and sort of read what I was putting out and what that attracted back. And because my own signal was so confusing, it was hard to decipher what was coming back to me. But there are segments of people that are focused on living their lives in a very specific way that this experience that I'm going through can help more than others. But I'm always trying to find the highest level of lessons that can be extrapolated to help the greatest number of people, to just be put out there, help who it's going to help. If you've ever been through something like this, if you care just to listen on, one of Allison's crazy stories, because she's got a ton. If you want to just listen for entertainment, if you want to listen because you want to be like, told you, I could have told her that. Because I guarantee I got people that are like, well, I could have told her that was going to happen. But, okay, great. Well, more power to you. Glad that you learned my lesson. You believed I'm glad you believe that what this appears on the surface is all there is. That's great. But I'm telling you, it's incredible how deep it is. It's incredible that already, I swear to you, and this particular aspect I can't share publicly, and it won't be revealed till I just say that I connected with another person through this that I would not have connected with. Would not. And that connection would not have happened had this not transpired. And it remains to be seen what this new connection will become. But my intuition tells me that could have been exactly why this all happened. And even the dynamic of that conversation already I feel like I've gained, even though it's not clear, I can't point to it specifically, I do feel like I've gained $1,300. The $1,300 I lost on the surface, because that is the biggest salient thing on the surface, is the money lost. The second thing is losing the experience. But clearly, I'm still experiencing life and having all kinds of experiences, much more, much different than I would have meeting 11 others from around the world while in the mountains of Ecuador. Now I'm just still in Sarasota, but already the connections and the things I've done, and my life is very quiet here, but I'm all about the depth and the quality, not the quantity. And the two older lady friends of mine that I spent New Year's Eve with last night, that wouldn't have happened. And one is very close friend. The other, they've been close friends for almost a decade, but I'm a new friend, and she's this beautiful, beautiful, powerful, wonderful woman, the mother of a beautiful Down syndrome, 18-year-old, almost 19-year-old Down syndrome boy. Like, the richness of how that relationship is seemingly on a new path to blossom. Again, there are no accidents. So let me see what this is at. 35 minutes. This is definitely under the category of raw, in the moment, not professional, not organized. Oh shit. Peanut. Oh, hi, Peony. I didn't realize the outside door was still open. Hi, little girl. What are you doing? What are you doing, little girl? Anyway, I don't know. I'm not in a routine yet, and I've been saying this for a fucking month, and I need to get in a routine. And I said I was gonna go run today because I do need to run, and I got nobody, to inspire me. I gotta be my own inspiration here, and when I haven't worked out for this long, it's hard. So I'm just trying to get the energy flowing. I'm trying to not feel down. I'm trying to not feel negative, and so and it's chilly for us here, which is, my blood is thin. I'm a wimp when it comes to that now, so I'm not even gonna be able to go out for at least a couple more hours. But I don't know. I'm just continuing to process, and yeah, we're gonna have a good day, Allison. We're gonna get to the celery fields. You're gonna get to the celery fields for at least a walk. But let's start running. Let's get that blood flowing. Let's do it right now, right on the first day of the year. I need to meditate. Like, I got to get into a rhythm. And I'm the only one that can get me into this routine. And it is challenging, but routine and discipline are essential for this year, Allison. You've got to get a routine because the routine aids in the discipline. And you got to get going. So let's make it light. Let's make it fun. Let's make it happy. And so far it looks to be like it's going to be a gorgeous day. And when it warms up here a little bit more, we're going to go and have a fantastic, haven't been to your favorite place in many weeks. Little bit concerned about one of my kitties. The one, Peeny's, not doing fantastically, and now Shadow won't eat. So something's going on with Mr. Shadow. He seems good otherwise, so I'm hoping and believing it's not anything too minor. I'm hoping it's just something with this blood glucose, but I don't know. We've not faced this with him. And I'll tell you what, having 6 different foods open, and he's eating a different thing every day, so he's got diarrhea for like 3 days, and I know that must hurt his stomach, and that hurts me when I think he's in pain. So, and I can't let the kitties and this obsession with like being home and observing every minute of their behavior, I can't let that trump me and me taking care of myself. I gotta surrender a little bit here to spirit and trust again. Shadow's gonna be 15 years old in 2 months, less than 2 months. He's about to become in the geriatric category of cats. And Peeny's about to cross over in 4 months to senior cats. So they're older cats. And I really, you gotta trust when their time is up. I mean, there ain't no way I'm force feeding Shadow the way that I can force feed Peanut. When Shadow's ready to check out, Shadow's going to check out. But he does have something, diabetes, that has thus far been manageable. We've been managing it for 3 years. So we'll see. But okay, maybe we'll record more later. Likely this will never be shared with anybody but me. But we're going to go ahead and conclude for right now. If it ever does become public and this is shared and you've listened, I thank you. And if not, it's me kind of speaking to my higher self, and I thank my higher self. I always thank my higher self through my higher self and on up to the oneness, to the one energy. Please keep coming through me, keep inspiring me, keep guiding me. Much thanks, and Happy New Year.